the left knows that they're about to lose this battle. They know that we are on the cusp of a culture of life in our nation, not just at the political level, but at the greater societal level. And so they trot out just the most heartbreaking, the most awful, the most, I don't even have the adjectives to describe this, but essentially the left is using a 10-year-old girl who was raped, who was impregnated by her rapist as their clarion call for abortion. And the mainstream media, CNN, Dana Bash at CNN specifically, is trying to hold conservatives who are pro-life their feet to the fire over this horrendous incident. This is Governor Kristi Noem.
Let me ask you about that. The Indianapolis Star is reporting that a 10-year-old girl in Ohio who was 6 weeks and 3 days pregnant now has to travel across state lines to Indiana to receive an abortion. So because this is a trigger law that was passed before you became governor, I wanted you to be clear. Will the state of South Dakota going forward force a 10-year-old in that very same situation to have a baby?
You know what I think is incredible, Dana, in this tragic story, because I heard about this last night. What's incredible is that nobody's talking about the pervert, horrible, deranged individual that raped a 10-year-old. And what are we doing about that?
I agree with you.
What are we doing about those individuals?
Of course, that is an important discussion to have.
You rape children. That's an issue that the Supreme Court has weighed in as well.
Listen, I totally understand that.
But what we can do for that little girl, I think we also need to be addressing those sick individuals that do this to our children.
I couldn't agree more. But our bodies are our bodies, and women are the ones who get pregnant. And in this case, it wasn't a woman; it was a girl.
This is where I get so angry at society. I get so angry hearing that this little child wasn't protected. I mean, this is truly, as I said, the left is so desperate because they are exploiting this child who has been victimized. She has been violated. She has suffered what nobody should suffer, being raped the way that she was. And the left uses her to try to push their radical leftist abortion agenda. And Kristi Noem, Governor Noem, was correct in her first answer here. She was correct that you don't hear the radical left calling for these rapists to be prosecuted. And the number of rapists in our country who aren't prosecuted is appalling. According to the Central Minnesota Sexual Assault Center, this is what they say: 60% of rapes and sexual assaults are not reported to police. Those rapists, of course, then never spend a day in jail. Factoring in unreported rapes, only about 6% of rapists ever serve a day in jail. 6%. If the rape is reported, there's a 50% chance of an arrest. So where's the left? Where's the left advocating for this little girl and justice to be served? They're not. They're advocating for abortion. You never hear the left talk about any of the factors that would make a child vulnerable to this kind of violation or abuse. For example, child pornography. We know that child pornography laws are abysmally enforced in this country, that oftentimes if you are caught in possession of child pornography, you get a slap on the wrist. You do not spend your life in prison, as you should, for consuming material depicting the sexual torture of babies and toddlers. And we know that the reason for this is because judges across our country and legislatures at the state level that would regulate this ignore the correlation between pornography and child pornography specifically and contact offenders, meaning you are very likely to be a contact offender to commit sexual assault or rape against a child if you have consumed material depicting the sexual assault or torture of a child or a toddler or a baby. And yet where's the left talking about child pornography laws, talking about these lenient sentences for child sex offenders? They're silent because they don't actually care about these children. They're just using these children to tug at our heartstrings, hoping that it will make us more likely to support their abortion agenda.